They said the island appeared only once every 100 years, hidden beyond the morning mist. Every sailor who searched for it vanished, but one young mapmaker chose to follow a path that no map had ever shown. Welcome to Golden Smiles Stories. Tonight, leave the noise of the modern world behind and journey with us into the forgotten pages of history, where ancient mysteries, timeless legends, and remarkable stories still whisper through the ages. Now get comfortable and let the adventure begin. If you enjoy timeless stories and forgotten mysteries, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Golden Smiles Stories to join us on our next adventure.
The sea was unusually quiet that morning, not because the wind had stopped, but because every sailor aboard the merchant vessel had fallen strangely silent. Before them stretched an endless blanket of silver blue water, where the rising sun slowly painted the horizon in shades of gold. Seabirds circled high above, their distant cries fading into the gentle rhythm of the waves. 19-year-old Nikos stood alone at the bow of the ship, holding a weathered parchment that had never left his side. Unlike the seasoned sailors around him, Nikos wasn't searching for wealth or glory. He was searching for places that maps had forgotten. His father had been one of the finest cartographers in Alexandria, spending a lifetime drawing coastlines, islands, and distant ports with remarkable precision. Before his passing, he had shared one lesson with his son: never believe a map is complete. Every map only tells the story that someone was able to find. Those words had stayed with Nikos ever since. While other boys dreamed of becoming soldiers or merchants, he spent his days studying the stars, measuring the sun's shadow, and copying the charts of sailors who had crossed distant seas. Most people laughed. A boy cannot redraw the world. But Nikos never argued, because deep inside, he believed the world was still hiding secrets. That morning, the ship approached the small island of Rhodes. Its busy harbor welcomed traders from Egypt, Greece, and lands far beyond the horizon. The air carried the scent of salt, fresh olives, and burning cedar wood. As sailors unloaded their cargo, Nikos wandered through the crowded marketplace until something unusual caught his attention. An elderly merchant sat quietly beneath a faded blue canopy. Unlike the others, he wasn't selling spices or jewelry. His table held only a few strange objects: a cracked bronze compass, a smooth black stone covered with faded symbols, and an ancient bronze astrolabe, its surface engraved with tiny stars that seemed to shimmer beneath the morning light. Nikos picked it up carefully. It felt surprisingly warm. "How much?" he asked. The old merchant smiled gently. "I cannot sell it." Confused, Nikos looked up. "Why bring it to the market if it isn't for sale?" The merchant's weathered eyes remained fixed on him. "Because it has been waiting for the right traveler." Nikos laughed softly. "Objects don't choose people." "Most don't," the merchant replied. "But this one has." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Long ago, sailors believed this astrolabe pointed toward places that ordinary maps could never reveal. They called them the Forgotten Horizons." Nikos examined the instrument again. Its bronze rings were beautifully crafted, yet one small marking stood apart from the others. A tiny island, no name, no coordinates, only a single symbol. A circle surrounding a rising sun. "What does it mean?" Nikos whispered. The merchant's smile slowly faded. "It marks a place that appears only once every 100 years. Nikos felt a chill despite the warm Mediterranean air. "Has anyone ever found it?" The old man looked toward the endless sea. "Many searched. Very few returned. And those who did never looked at the world the same way again." At that moment, a sudden gust of wind swept across the harbor. The astrolabe's delicate bronze pointer began to move on its own, not toward the north, not toward the sun, but toward the open sea, toward a distant horizon hidden beneath a blanket of golden mist. Nikos held his breath. For just a heartbeat, he thought he saw something impossible, far beyond the waves. A faint outline of towering white cliffs appeared, then vanished again, almost as if the sea itself had whispered a secret and changed its mind. The bronze astrolabe remained perfectly still, until the very moment Nikos stepped aboard his ship. Without warning, its delicate pointer turned once again, refusing to face the northern sky. Instead, it pointed toward the endless western sea. Captain Theron noticed it immediately. He had sailed the Mediterranean for more than 40 years and had witnessed storms powerful enough to swallow entire fleets, but he had never seen an astrolabe move on its own. "Where did you find that?" he asked quietly. Nikos told him everything: the old merchant, the strange symbol, and the legend of the island that appeared only once every 100 years. The captain's weathered face grew pale. "I heard that story when I was a cabin boy," he whispered. "My grandfather warned every sailor never to chase the island of the sleeping sky." Nikos looked at him with curiosity. "Why?" The old captain stared across the calm sea. "Because those who searched for it stopped looking for home." Silence settled across the deck. Even the crew, who had been preparing the sails, slowed their work as they listened. One sailor laughed nervously. "A bedtime story to frighten children." Another sailor shook his head. "My father knew a fisherman who claimed to see white cliffs rising from the sea at sunrise. No one believed him. He disappeared the following spring." The conversation ended as quickly as it had begun. No one wished to speak of the legend any longer. 3 days later, the merchant vessel had left the familiar trade routes behind. The sea felt different here. The water was impossibly clear, reflecting the sky like polished glass. There were no fishing boats, no seabirds, no distant sails. Only silence. Nikos unfolded every chart he carried. According to the maps, nothing should exist in this part of the sea. Yet the bronze astrolabe continued pointing forward, hour after hour. As the sun slowly disappeared below the horizon, something extraordinary happened. Thousands of tiny blue lights began glowing beneath the waves. The crew gathered along the railing. "What are they?" whispered one sailor. Nikos leaned over the side. The sea shimmered like a sky filled with stars. Tiny glowing creatures drifted beneath the surface, leaving trails of light wherever the current moved. Captain Theron smiled faintly. "The sea is showing us a path." That night, none of the sailors slept well. Just before dawn, a thick golden mist rolled silently across the water. It swallowed the stars. It swallowed the horizon. Within minutes, the ship seemed to float inside another world. The wind disappeared. The waves became perfectly still. Even the sound of the sea had vanished. Then, the bronze astrolabe began to glow. Not brightly, just enough for every sailor to notice. Its ancient rings slowly turned by themselves. The pointer locked onto a single direction, straight ahead. Nikos lifted his eyes. Far beyond the mist, a deep bell echoed across the silent ocean. Once, twice, 3 times. No ship could be seen. No lighthouse stood nearby, yet the sound continued. Then, like a dream slowly waking, towering white cliffs emerged from the golden fog. Ancient stone pillars stood high above the sea. Waterfalls poured into crystal blue coves, and at the island's highest peak, something reflected the first light of sunrise. Not gold, not fire, but a brilliant blue light, as if the island itself had been waiting for someone to find it. Captain Theron removed his hat without saying a word. After a long silence, he whispered, "We are about to sail into a place that history forgot." The ship drifted silently toward the hidden island. No one spoke. Even the sea seemed to be holding its breath. As the morning mist slowly faded, the island revealed itself in breathtaking detail. Towering white cliffs rose high above the ocean, untouched by time. Crystal waterfalls poured into pools so clear that every stone beneath the water could be seen. Ancient trees, unlike any Nikos had ever studied, stretched toward the sky with silver-green leaves that shimmered beneath the morning light. Captain Theron lowered the anchor. "We go no farther," he said quietly. "The sea has brought us here. The rest of the journey belongs to those willing to walk. Only 5 people stepped ashore: Nikos, Captain Theron, and 3 experienced sailors. The others refused to leave the safety of the ship. The air felt strangely warm despite the cool sea breeze. There were no signs of wild animals, no broken ruins, no abandoned villages, only peace. As they climbed a narrow stone path, Nikos noticed something unusual. The path wasn't carved by nature. It had been carefully built. Each stone fit perfectly beside the next, without a single gap. Someone had once lived here, someone with extraordinary skill. After nearly an hour of climbing, the group reached a wide valley hidden between towering cliffs. Everyone stopped. Before them stood dozens of magnificent marble columns. Some had fallen, others still reached proudly toward the sky. There were no roofs, no walls, only silent pillars standing beneath the open heavens. Nikos slowly walked forward. He brushed away centuries of dust from a flat stone. Beneath it appeared a beautifully carved symbol, a circle, surrounding a rising sun, the very same mark engraved on the bronze astrolabe. It wasn't a legend, he whispered. It was a memory. Captain Theron nodded. This island wanted to be remembered. As they continued exploring, they found something even more astonishing. At the center of the valley stood a massive circular platform built from white marble. Around its edge were 12 stone seats, each facing a different point on the horizon. In the middle stood a single bronze pillar reaching toward the sky. Nikos immediately understood. "It isn't a temple," he said softly. "It's an observatory." He carefully placed the astrolabe upon the bronze pillar. The moment the metal touched its surface, a deep vibration echoed through the ground. Dust drifted from the ancient columns. The bronze rings of the astrolabe began turning slowly on their own. Above them, a beam of golden sunlight passed through its delicate circles. The light struck the marble floor. Lines that had remained hidden for centuries suddenly appeared across the stone. They formed an enormous map, not of the island, but of the stars. Every sailor stared in silence. Captain Theron removed his hand from his sword. No one felt fear anymore, only wonder. Nikos slowly followed the glowing lines across the marble. Then he noticed something that made his heart race. The map did not end with the known constellations. Beyond them, someone had carved stars that appeared on no chart he had ever studied. Unknown skies, unknown horizons, unknown worlds. A quiet voice broke the silence. It came from behind them. So, after 100 years, someone finally returned. The group turned at once. Standing beneath one of the ancient arches was a lone elderly man dressed in simple white robes. His silver hair moved gently in the sea breeze. His calm eyes showed neither surprise nor fear, only kindness, as though he had been expecting them all along. The old man smiled gently. "I have been waiting," he said. Captain Theron stepped forward. "Who are you?" The stranger placed a hand upon the ancient bronze pillar. "My name has been forgotten many times, but long ago I was known as the keeper of the sleeping sky." No one spoke. The wind carried only the distant sound of the sea. The old man slowly walked across the marble observatory, his fingers brushing the weathered stone as though greeting an old friend. This island was never built for kings. It was never built for war. It was built for those who wished to understand the heavens. Nikos listened carefully. "Our ancestors crossed the sea by watching the stars," the keeper continued. "They believed that wisdom was greater than power. So they gathered here, not to conquer the world, but to understand it." He pointed toward the glowing map beneath their feet. Every generation added a little more knowledge. For centuries, this island became the greatest observatory ever created. Captain Theron looked around in disbelief. "Then why did it disappear?" The keeper sighed. "Because people changed. They no longer searched for wisdom. They searched for treasure." He slowly knelt beside the marble floor. Many came with swords. Many came with greed. They believed this island hid gold. But there was never any gold. There was only knowledge. The old man's eyes became distant, so the keepers made one final choice. They hid the island, not with magic, but with understanding. He smiled at Nikos. The sea, the tides, the morning light, and the mist work together only once every 100 years. When the heavens return to the same position, the island reveals itself again. Nikos looked toward the glowing astrolabe. So the island was never lost. It was simply waiting. The keeper nodded, for someone whose heart sought truth instead of riches. He gently lifted the bronze astrolabe. It chose you long before you found it. At that moment, sunlight poured through the ancient observatory. Every marble pillar glowed with warm golden light. The hidden star map slowly faded once again. The island had shared its secret, and now it was waiting for one final decision. The keeper placed the bronze astrolabe into Nikos's hands. It no longer belongs to us. It belongs to the future. Nikos looked across the island one final time. I could tell the world. The old man smiled kindly. You could, but ask yourself, would they come seeking wisdom or wealth? Nikos lowered his eyes. He already knew the answer. Greed would reach this peaceful place long before understanding ever could. The keeper gently closed Nikos's notebook. Some discoveries are protected not by walls, but by silence. The words settled deeply within his heart. As the sun climbed higher, the sea breeze returned. Far below, Captain Theron called to the others. It is time. The mist was already gathering beyond the cliffs. The island would soon disappear once more. Before leaving, Nikos turned toward the observatory. The keeper stood exactly where they had first met, calm, peaceful, watching the horizon. Nikos bowed with quiet respect. Will I ever see this place again? The keeper smiled. If your heart continues to seek wonder, every sunrise will remind you of this island. The small group returned to their ship. As the sails caught the wind, the island slowly disappeared into the golden mist. Within minutes, there was nothing, only open sea. Months later, Nikos returned to Alexandria. People eagerly asked what he had discovered. He simply smiled. I found something more valuable than treasure. He never revealed the island's location. Instead, he devoted the rest of his life to creating better maps, teaching young navigators to respect the sea, the stars, and the endless mysteries beyond every horizon. Years passed, then decades. His maps became famous across the ancient world. Yet in the corner of every chart, hidden so carefully that few ever noticed, that not every wonder is meant to be around a rising sun. Some wonders exist simply to inspire those who never stop searching. And perhaps, on some distant morning, when the sea is calm and the golden mist returns, a new dreamer will look toward the horizon, and the island of the sleeping sky will appear once again. Nikos never revealed the island's location, not because he feared the world, but because he loved it. He believed that some places should remain untouched, not to be hidden from mankind, but to remind mankind that not everything is meant to be owned. Years later, his maps became famous across the ancient world. Yet in the corner of every chart, he quietly drew a tiny circle around a rising sun. No name, no direction, only a silent promise that somewhere beyond the edge of every map, the island of the sleeping sky was still waiting. Waiting, not for the richest, not for the strongest, but for the one who never stopped wondering what lay beyond the horizon. And perhaps, on a quiet morning, as golden mist rises gently above a silent sea, someone will see those white cliffs once again, because some legends are never truly lost. They simply wait for the next dreamer to find them. Perhaps some mysteries are not meant to be solved, only remembered. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the ancient world. Until our next adventure, take care, stay curious, and may your dreams be filled with timeless stories. Good night.